everybody, and welcome back to the 4-Star Podcast. I'm your host, Jordan DuPont, joined by, we got the whole crew here. Andrew Freeman, Ty Mullen, and Nick DeCola. Things have been a little bit hectic and crazy the last few weeks, so apologize for the delay in posting. But here we are, ready to talk about more.
We're ready to rock and roll. Not just rock, not just roll. We're ready to do both.
So we're going to jump right into it, talk about what's been going on with the Bears. We wanted to wait until after the Vikings game and then scheduling stuff, which is why we didn't post right after the game. But lost to Detroit. It was ugly. Blew the game, very similar to how we did against the Broncos earlier in the season, and then got the win. We were at Minnesota for that one, right? That was in Minnesota. Yep. So we got the win on the road against the Vikings. Looked very, very eerily similar to the Lions game, but we managed to actually hold on to that one. So now we currently sit at 4-8. I think the Panthers lost to the Bucs, right?
They did lose.
So they still have the number one draft pick.
The Buccaneers tried to lose it, but the Panthers' suckage could not overcome the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I kept checking the score and I was getting nervous because I know they were only down like 14-10 at one point, but Bears still have the number one overall pick. Thanks, Panthers. Please keep doing more of what you're doing, which is losing. But I don't know. How are you guys feeling about this? Because it seems like things have been on the upswing for us, and that actually kind of makes me nervous.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at like the way they played basically since their first 3-4 weeks of the season, where it was just week after week after week. It was just we had something else to talk about in terms of drama and just bad football. They've actually been close to, if you look at any metrics like EPA per play and success rate and DVOA, like some of the advanced numbers, they're actually more of a average team rather than a bottom 5 team, which is where they sit at right now record wise. So they've definitely turned things around. I think especially defensively, they've definitely turned things around on that side of the ball. Now, they've benefited from playing a lot of bad quarterbacks in recent weeks, and that's going to make your defense look better. But you can see like the defensive lines played. I mean, they were awesome against Minnesota on Monday night, and what's really impressive about that is Minnesota's got one of the better offensive lines in football. When you look at Darrisaw and O'Neal at the tackle spots. Interior is not so great, but the tackles are really, really good there. So that's been really a really positive trend for them. And then, offensively, nice to get Justin back over the last 2 weeks. I mean, he played really well against Detroit. Minnesota, I guess we can get into it in terms of the game plan stuff, which I'm sure we will, because the game plan from Getsy was just something else. Minnesota, more of the same, though, in terms of like being up and down in his play. Some good, some bad. Had the game-winning, drive at the end, which kind of, puts everything in the positive light. But yeah, I would say a lot of things trending in the right direction right now.
Yeah, let's table the Luke Getsy conversation for later in the show. I don't want to get riled up right now talking about screen after screen after screen after screen. But no, I just like you said, Justin had a really good game against Detroit. Again, this is these last few weeks. It's prove it time for Justin Fields. Are you going to be? You have to prove that you're worthy of being the guy, being that franchise quarterback that the Bears can build around. And I mean, it's. I guess the Detroit game, it was a good start. Again, Minnesota, it's more of, what we've seen. He's been inconsistent. He kind of has happy feet in the pocket a little bit, but then you get those flashes of brilliance. That pass to DJ Moore was a great pass. He finally put together that game-winning drive that he just hasn't been able to get. So, we'll see if he can build on it down the road, but I like what I say. I'm still leaning very much heavily towards, especially if we have the number one pick, let's go draft a quarterback. But no, I've got my hopes up like a little bit, just a tiny bit, that much.
Yes, I was going to say something and I forgot. I don't know why I unmuted, honestly. Anyways, I like to hear myself talk. Look. Oh my gosh, sorry, I had the Packers game on and they're making the Chiefs look silly. Anyways,
the team that blew us out, what was it, like 40-0 or something like that?
Oh, but I do want to say, I don't know if it's I don't believe that it's just Eberflus, but the defense, like, they're actually just not doing basic cover 2, cover 3 shells and just giving them 10 yards off. They're like simulating pressure. That's nice. That was refreshing. Yeah, I don't know.
Montez Sweat has been great.
Yeah, it's like
that is looking like an
it's
excellent
funny.
move.
It's funny.
Yeah.
You get, a defensive line, some better pass rush on the opposing quarterback, and all of a sudden your coverage looks better, and all of a sudden they can be more aggressive and they can get interceptions. And wow, it's funny how that works. Bears.
Jalen Johnson still has stone hands though.
He still has stone hands, but
he's dropped 2 pick sixes. That would have been just easy.
But he is still the best
he's still
defensive back that we have on our team, and I know it's so hard. We keep mentioning the Justin Fields dilemma because it is so hard. It's like, obviously anybody listening doesn't know, but like in one of my group chats, I was literally just writing screen every time I'd see like 2 consecutive screens. I was getting tired of doing it, so I stopped doing it. But like, just know there are so many screens, and I was so sick of it. It's like, how do you don't even know where he's at? You can't know where he's at because he's just throwing screens every time. So I saw an argument on Twitter that was like, and again, we'll get into this, of course, near the end of the year. We'll see more games that they play. We'll see Justin get more reps. But I did see the argument of like, well, even if you are worried that Caleb Williams is just going to be Justin Fields' time part 2, like, it's a cheaper contract. So we'll see. Because, we'll see what they decide to do, how they decide to allocate the resources, where the team wants to attack both the draft, free agency, and, of course, the coaching staff. And then I'm seeing the Twitter truthers now. And I know it's Twitter, so it's like take that with a grain of salt. It's like venturing into a cave of hyenas, and they've nurtured a bear, so the bear's on the hyena side. I don't know, man. But
where are you going with
where's this analogy going?
I know the Packers are playing, and Aaron Rodgers is on his way back. But did you take some ayahuasca before you came on the air or something?
I was texting. I was in Arizona for some training, and when I was texting them, I was trying to text them weird stuff. So I'm just trying to keep on that roll. Anyways,
are we sure didn't break tags?
I think
you go on to Bears Twitter. Yeah, sorry.
Nick, let Tyke finish.
All right, we lost him for a second, but I will say. It's kind of crazy now because on Twitter, people are like, well, maybe we should keep Eberflus now at this defense. And I'm like, oh, God, just get – no.
So speaking of the Twitter cesspool, I did see a really interesting nugget on there. Basically, what it boiled down to was the Bears under Eberflus without Chase Claypool are a 500 football team. The Bears under Eberflus with Chase Claypool lost all of their games. So is it Matt Eberflus, or was Chase Claypool really that toxic in the locker room?
I think it's Matt Eberflus still. Like you still have those horrible losses to Detroit and then the Broncos earlier in the year. I don't remember the tweet off the top of my head. I wish I saved it, but basically like 1 in every 7 games for Matt Eberflus as a head coach of the Bears results in just like a massive collapse and a loss in unbelievably embarrassing fashion. It was something. Yeah. It was something like that. So I don't know.
As the old saying goes, correlation does not equal causation, right? Look, as we stand right now, Matt Eberflus still has the worst worst record of any head coach in Bears franchise history. So at the end of the day, like we can blame it on the Chase Claypool thing all you want. I know it's more of like a joke more than anything, but really it just comes down to we even saw it against like the Vikings, especially the Lions. Like they went out of their way to try to lose those games from a coaching standpoint in those ones. I know Eberflus's defense balled out against the Vikings, but Lord knows, they allowed them to go march right down the field on that one drive where they got ahead late in the game. And it was more of the same stuff where it's just basic cover 2, basic coverages, not getting pressure on Josh Dobbs, who's been a bad quarterback. You might want to get some pressure on the guy who can't really handle pressure.
It's prevent defense. It prevents you from winning the game.
Right. Yeah. So it's more like the situational thing that still frustrates you. Like against the Lions, like how many times did they, play for field goals when a touchdown would have ended the game right then and there? Stuff like that just really just irks you. And I guess, like, speaking of coaching, we might as well just address the elephant in the room, which is Getsy's horrible game plan against the Vikings. I'll let Nick start off because he's been
Okay.
I'm sure he's ready to rant.
I
Let's hear it,
understand
Nick.
that.
Uh-oh.
All right.
No.
Look.
There we go. Okay, easier.
Yeah, you're
I'm
back.
back.
You're back.
Am I back? Okay. All right. I understand that he was trying to game plan around the Vikings. Brian Flores, he likes to blitz a lot. He likes to bring pressure a lot. And screens are a decent way to do that. If the defense doesn't know that's the only thing you're going to do, where are the slants? Where are the quick short passes or whatever? Like I don't know what we're doing. It's just like there was one play where it was Troy Aikman was like, oh, that's a good play call. But like the Vikings sniffed it out. There were like 3 guys already ready to guard against the screen. You have a quarterback with a cannon for an arm that you're trying to evaluate to see if he's the guy. Where are like the intermediate passes? Why aren't you attacking the middle of the field? Why is everything horizontal? It's so frustrating. And this goes back to the big, the problem that we've been talking about with the Bears for basically a decade at this point. It's like the front office, the head coach, the coaching staff, and the quarterback is never aligned. The coaching staff is like, they always have to inherit a quarterback and they got to evaluate. So what you have is Luke Getsy, Matt Eberflus, they're at this point, they're coaching for their jobs, so they're in, Matt Eberflus with his super conservative, I'm sure that super conservative play style, prevent defense, cover 2, whatever. And that goes back to Getsy with these super conservative screenplays because it doesn't seem like he trusts Justin Fields to do everything else. But at the same time, the front office is trying to evaluate if they can build around Justin Fields or not. And this year, the only thing they're learning is how well he can throw the ball horizontally when that's the one thing he has to do. So, like, I don't know. It's just, I hate it. I hate it. I hate it for winning now. I hate it for planning for the future. I hate everything about it.
Yeah. And like, it is just so frustrating. Obviously, this is the year of the screen, like not just the Bears because we took it to an extreme, but like every team is just like, oh, we're screen. But, man, like, because like I have the NFL Red Zone on, so like they go through all the games and like it's just like look at CJ Stroud, man, this dude just slinging it, like all the routes are downfield. He's like keeping his eyes downfield. They don't care. Like obviously they're 7-5 now or whatever. Like Texans are just already in contention. So and Stroud throws a lot more anticipation, but just any team and they see and you switch over and it's like these passing concepts are explosive. They're deep. They're letting the quarterback just push the ball down the field, which you should be. That's what modern analytics are saying. Like, just throw it, dude. Just throw the ball. And it's so refreshing to watch because we have to deal with 3 hours of just screen. Oh, there is an attempt. Oh, well, he dropped the ball or Fields missed the throw. Like screen. Oh, there's a run again on 2nd and 10. Like, well, like, man, just like seeing all the creativity in the league, and you would still see some bad. Like you still watch the Panthers, and that's bad. You still watch, I don't know, the Cardinals, which hey, they beat the Steelers today because the Steelers are frauds. But whatever. Like it's just like I don't know, man. It's just so irritating to watch because there's so much better in pass. Like it's 2023. There are so many better passing concepts. There's just better football. There's better efficient football to be had, and it's just ridiculous that we don't even try. I'd rather see us try and fall flat on our face and learn that, okay, yeah, maybe he's just not the guy, than to see the screens and then be like, was he the guy? I don't know. I can throw a screen pass, dude. Like, I don't know if he's the guy or not. Like, come on. So, I don't know.
Well, with all that being said, want to give a shout out to DJ Moore. Somehow reached the 1,000-yard mark. No idea how with all of these screen passes and the rarity at which we actually put the ball downfield. But there you go. Add Justin Fields to the list of potentially terrible quarter. And I'm not trying to say Justin Fields is terrible because we don't know, because we don't give him the opportunity to show what he can actually do.
Well, when he's one of the only 2 receivers that Fields throws to on a regular basis, you're going to get a lot of yards.
Fair. But add Justin Fields to the list of questionable quarterbacks that DJ Moore has managed to get the 1,000-yard mark under. Yeah, I'm right there with you guys.
Drake May's next.
Really? Do you not think we're getting the number 1 pick, or would you rather take Drake May than Caleb Williams?
I'm gonna be honest. I haven't looked into either of them or whatever, but just
conversation
around Caleb Williams, like his stock seems to be falling. And I don't know. It's a conversation. It's a conversation we can have later.
Gotcha.
Conversation for another
you know.
day.
Well, do we have
Anyway,
anything else?
I like my
Yeah.
UNC number 10s. What can I say?
Yeah, I'll say this: like on the Vikings game plan, for like Luke Getsy's Vikings game plan, it felt like an overcorrection from the last time they played the Vikings, where they did expect Justin Fields to kind of, play more of, hitting the hot read and getting the ball out quickly. It felt like an overcorrection to where Getsy saw the Vikings tape from the first game and was like, well, Justin Fields clearly can't do this because we schemed it multiple times for him to get the ball out quickly, and he just wasn't processing anything and couldn't handle the blitz whatsoever. So how about instead we just call screens where that's going to replace those types of plays where we can just get the ball out of his hands quickly. But it felt like they just, after a while, like you just saw Brian Flores was eating those plays for lunch and his calls, because the Vikings were on top of that every single time they ran it. Like I can only remember for like the 20 screens that they called, I can only remember like a handful that actually like worked. You know what I mean? So it was just not great. And then a lot of the other stuff they were calling, it wasn't like they were doing anything to necessarily help Justin Fields either. There were a couple plays where Getsy has guys schemed wide open, and Justin Fields is doing the typical where he's not throwing the ball, he's not processing, he doesn't see anything over the middle of the field, and he's just holding on to it. Like, even with all the screens, his time to throw was still like sky high in this game, which kind of speaks to on the other plays where he's not throwing those screens, like he's still not seeing the field very well, and he's still not getting the ball out. So yeah, and the game plan was just, it wasn't great. It didn't really do anything to help Fields out in a way. But I also wonder if part of it is just like the reason why they're game planning it is because of the quarterback they have under center, and they don't really trust him. Like we kind of alluded to before, they don't really trust him to run a traditional offense in the sense of you see the blitz, read the blitz, get the ball out to your hot, get the ball out quickly, and adjust from there. And that's just something that Justin Fields has really, really struggled with in his NFL career, unfortunately.
Anybody got anything else, or should we move on to?
Oh, we've been on
The
this
bye
long
week,
enough.
man. Enjoy the bye week.
Yeah. Drop a comment. What did you do instead of being miserable watching Bears football? We'd love to know. With that being said, Bears will be at home against the Lions next Sunday at noon Central. I don't know. Lions team's looking pretty good. Who did they do?
I'll be at the game, by the way, so that'll be
Ooh.
a good one to be at. I'll be in the press box. Hopefully, I get some good food for me when I'm there. So, speak, but
give us the review again.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that next week. I'll give you guys my full review of the dining options we had available to us. That'll be fun.
Well, we'll move on to it's hard to be even more miserable than the Bears, but we're going to try. Moving on to the Bulls, who are currently in 13th place in the Eastern Conference with a record of 7-14. Zach LaVine is injured, and yet somehow, unbelievably, with Zach LaVine on the bench, the Bulls have won 2 games in a row, one of which is against the 3rd place Milwaukee Bucks in overtime. So if you guys want to dig into the implications of that, I will gladly turn the floor over to you.
I mean, is it unbelievable that the Bulls are playing better without a player who just clearly doesn't want to be here and is clearly just a cancer to everything they're doing clearly? I don't know. At this point, like, it's been a while since we talked Bulls, so I don't know how much we want to address here, or I forget like whether we covered this last time, but it sounds like the Bulls and LaVine are on a collision, or not a collision, but they're on track to. There's going to be a trade at some point, I'd imagine, during this season, and it's just one of the things where it's not a matter of if the Bulls trade LaVine, it's a matter of when they trade LaVine, and I just think like this team, whether it's from the front office on down to the players, the coaching staff, whatever. I just think they're over it, and they're just ready for this to be over. And you can see that the last 2 games, they're on a 2-game winning streak, which I guess congrats to them for being on a 2-game winning streak, which is like the highlight of their season so far this year. But it just like the team's just playing so much better without him in the lineup. And I think that speaks to the fact that one, like LaVine is kind of like tanking when he's on the court out there. I'm not going to accuse it. I guess I'm not going to accuse a professional athlete of not trying completely and trying to suck, but clearly he's just not in the headspace of being engaged with this team as of right now, and you can clearly tell when he's on the floor. So I don't know. I wonder if the Bulls get to a point to where they just decide to keep LaVine out until they find a trade partner at this point, because it's going to happen eventually. It's just, like I said, it's just a matter of when, if not if.
Well, and I saw too, Kobe White it was the Bucks game where he went off, right? I think I saw like 19 of the final 21 points in the game were either directly from him or assisted by him. I mean, he took over. So that's really, really good to see, because I know we've had discussions about him in the past where it's like, yeah, he's a great player, or a good role player, but like, is he really living up to his potential? And it seems like with LaVine out, he's finally kind of, and you can feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but just looking at the stats, it seems like he's finally stepping up.
Yeah, I mean, he had a season high 31 against the Pelicans in their last game. That might have been the game that you were talking about there.
Yes.
I haven't been as plugged in terms of watching every game this year for the Bulls, I'll be quite honest. But, I mean, yeah, he's one of those guys where, again, he needs the ball in his hands to be successful, right? And the problem with LaVine out there is that he's such a black hole on offense when he does get the ball. Like, seriously, like, LaVine, he doesn't make anybody better because he's not a great passer. He's not a great playmaker. And DeRozan, he's got his own issues because he's not a great off-ball player. So that's always going to be the issue with White on this team. With how it's currently constructed is that, like, he's not going to have the ball enough to really do what he does best, which is like shooting and driving and scoring. And that's exactly what LaVine is the best at. So it's like this weird thing to where you kind of can't have both guys on the team to have both play at their best. But yeah, it's nice to see like him, like Patrick Williams has looked a little bit less useless in the last couple games, that LaVine's been out. Like,
I like how you phrased that, less useless.
He's been a very disappointing player this year.
Andrew's a very positive Bulls fan, as you all can know, as we all know and see.
By the way, none of this qualifies as your one positive thing for the Bulls, right? You got to think of something nice.
It's got to be creative.
It's got to be really creative.
It's going to be tough to think about this week, I'll be honest, guys.
So do you see any potential trade partners? Have you heard anything about a possible return for LaVine? Because I can't imagine, with everything that's been going on, that this is going to be some big positive mood for the Bulls. It sounds like it's going to be more in the realm of the Yu Darvish salary dump that the Cubs did a few years back, where you basically get pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a big package, whatever they get. They might get a first round pick or two out of him, which is going to be, I mean, the best case scenario. Maybe they get a young player that has some level of promise in the deal, but you're most likely getting some kind of just salary filler for LaVine. Maybe you get a couple of role players for him and you try to work it out that way. But I don't see how you get a lot out of him. Like the Miami Heat would make sense as a trade partner in theory, because they've been kind of looking for another kind of star, especially more of an offensive minded star, to kind of add some juice to their team. But they're playing some good basketball right now, and I'm not sure like LaVine actually fits what they want to do there, because the Heat are more about, they're really old school in terms of their mentality organizationally, in terms of like guys that bring toughness and defense and wanting to compete on that side of the floor. And that's never been LaVine's like strong suit and whatnot. So I'm not sure if they would make a lot of sense, even though I think that would make a lot of sense in terms of like basketball wise, I guess, or I don't know. You kind of get the point there, but like the 76ers, like, will they want to add a third guy? I know they got Tyrese Maxey, who's kind of taken over things there alongside Embiid. I don't know. It's tough because I'm trying to think about it from the other team's perspective. Like, what team would actually want to bring LaVine in at this point?
That's what I was thinking.
It's just like he's on I get like NBA contracts these days are like not like the worst thing in the world if you end up overpaying a guy a big, massive, max contract these days, because everyone's overpaid in the NBA. But like, you're stuck with that contract for the next 3-4 years that he's got on that deal. He's been underperforming this year. He's a guy who has had injury issues in the past. He's kind of a one-dimensional player. I'm just like, from another team's perspective, I'm not sure, like, why would you give up assets to bring him in, right? And that was kind of always the problem with LaVine anyway. Is like the best time to trade him was like years ago before he got paid, when he was on that cheap contract and he was playing his best basketball. And now, like, the ship is kind of sailed in that regard. You're not going to get the value that you probably should be able to get for an all-star caliber guy in him, because I just, like, again, what team's going to want to bring that baggage in, especially a contending team?
Leave it to the Bulls to wait to trade a guy at like the absolute lowest value he'll ever be at.
Well, that's the problem with AK in this front office, right? Is that, like, everything they do is reactive. There's nothing proactive in their plan, in terms of, like, building out this roster. Everything is just like, well, we got to wait and see. We got to wait and see. And it's just like, no, the more you wait and see, the less the value goes down in any of these things. They never win things on the margins, whether it's in the contracts that they give out in free agency, like any of the trades they've done, they don't win on the margins for sure. Like the Vucevic trade is still killing them from a long-term aspect. I mean, we could talk about that all day. Like, just nothing they do just screams smart front office that sees things ahead of time. Or
I don't know if you guys touched on this while I was doing my Wi-Fi, but I saw a report that AK said he was only going to consider moves for LaVine at the moment, and then he wants to see what the rest of the roster looks like post Zach trade. Like, what do you think the roster is going to look like after the Zach trade? Do you think you're going to get assets? Whatever deal for Zach LaVine you strike, Zach LaVine is going to be the best player in that deal. You're not going to get you're not going to be able to build a team. Are you trying to like make your team competitive this year on the Zach LaVine trade? Like, what do you you don't have the foresight to be like, oh, we're losing our best player. I wonder what that team is going to look like. And if we're going to blow it all up anyway, I don't know. It's the Bulls being the Bulls.
Like, it's just
I think we shouldn't have done the Bears and the Bulls back to back, because Nick's brain is short circuiting right now.
Yeah, but then we get the Blackhawks. So like,
yeah.
It's just like, look at their situation. They're 7-14 right now. They're one of the worst teams in the NBA from a record standpoint. Like, they don't have assets. They don't have any young guys like that you can point to and say, we can build around this guy long term. Their best trade assets aren't even great trade assets anymore, because like we've already talked about the LaVine thing. DeRozan's on the last year of his contract. Are you seriously going to tell me that you want to extend this guy, even though he's not a winning player? He's on the wrong side of 30. He's having, he's kind of stepped back this year in terms of his usual production. Like, you've already overpaid Vucevic, who's, one of the worst starting centers in basketball. I wouldn't say one of the worst centers, but in terms of, he's like one of the worst values in basketball, because you're paying a below a negative player out there who doesn't make your team better on both sides of the floor. Like, it just, the entire situation is, but like, their best trade asset right now is Caruso, who's a role player. So it's just all bad. Like, the biggest indictment on AK that I can say right now is that he's put this Bulls team right now is in a worse position than when he took the job over for Garpax. What was it, 3-4 years ago? And that's a huge indictment on him, because they were in actually a good position to improve on things if they made the right moves, and they bungled this thing to the worst degree.
Yeah, it seems like not only did we get set back 3 to 4 years when he took over, just based on the moves that he made in taking over, but it still feels like this Bulls organization is 3 to 4 years away from being able to do anything productive. And that just, it sucks, because
3 to 4 years away from being 3 to 4 years away.
Seriously,
That's what it feels like.
It's just like, it's like the White Sox. Shocker, they're owned by the same person.
How about that?
All right. Yeah, good old Jerry. So before we move on, Andrew, what is your one positive takeaway from what's been going on with the Bulls?
You got to be sincere.
They beat
For
the
those
Bucks.
of you listening and not watching, he is thinking very, very hard right now.
That's really the only thing I can think. They beat the Bucks. Good for you.
Da-da.
You beat the Bucks
All
in a
right.
long season where I'm sure the Bucks weren't even trying there. I put some negative.
Okay,
Yes,
all right.
We'll edit that part out.
An-
We'll edit it
answer-
out. It's fine.
All
He
right,
said we
fine,
beat the Bucks. We can move on.
Fine. Every compliment has got to come with like it's backhanded compliment.
It's because there's no real way to actually be positive right now. But anyway,
It's fun to make them try, though.
coming up this week, the Bulls are home against the Hornets on Wednesday and on the road against San Antonio on Friday. Moving on to the Blackhawks, where a lot has transpired in the last couple of weeks. The Taylor Hall is out for the rest of the season, and Corey Perry was placed on unconditional waivers with intention to terminate his contract. I forget the phrasing that was used in the announcement, but basically it was conduct detrimental to the team. There were really, I'm not even going to say them because the rumors were incredibly stupid. But there were rumors regarding a player's family that were being spread around the internet that were false. But Perry did get claimed off of waivers. And let me just tell you, without having
you say you got claimed?
Somebody did. I forget who it was, but somebody claimed
Did
him.
you say he got claimed off of waivers?
He did get claimed off of waivers.
I don't think that's right.
I saw
he did not get claimed off waivers.
There was that, wasn't there like that joke, Twitter that like they're like we claimed him by like some like joke team like the Atlanta Thrashers or something.
Perry cleared waivers. So Jordan got fooled again by a dumb Twitter account.
Hey man, there's Atlanta Thrashers, which isn't real, and even I know
it
that.
wasn't the Atlanta Thrashers. It was not the Atlanta Thrashers. I know that.
They used to be real, and they moved to Winnipeg, and now they're the
No,
Jets.
I know. There is a fake Atlanta Thrashers Twitter account, and that was not what I got fooled by. I swear, I remember it being a Canadian, one of the teams that are actually in Canada. But
yeah. Well,
anyway, my apologies. Corey Perry did not clear waivers, but he did release a statement essentially apologizing for needing some help with alcohol issues is basically what it boiled down to. But I did get a chance to watch the last couple of Hawks games, and let me tell you, with the lack of veteran presence on the ice now, because Perry actually was playing some pretty decent hockey and being Corey Perry, and without Taylor Hall, this team is not looking good right now.
In this past 3-game road trip, the Hawks did not score a goal when Connor Bedard was not on the ice. Imagine how unwatchable this team would be if we did not have Connor Bedard. I mean, seriously, he is incredible, but he is legitimately the team's best player at the moment. Losing Taylor Hall is huge. That was the big move to try to get some help around him. And obviously this Perry news, I mean, I hope he gets the help he needs, but I mean, he was playing well. Hawks fans were starting to warm up to him after hating him for well over a decade. But it's a real shame. I do want to say one thing about the Perry thing, more towards how the organization handled it, because obviously how the Blackhawks handle situations like this, off ice misconduct, whatever, it's going to be under a bit more of a microscope given the history of this organization, what happened with Kyle Beach, all that stuff. So basically this incident allegedly occurred between Perry and a team employee in Columbus. The Hawks were notified. They immediately sent Corey Perry home, did an investigation, wrapped it up in about a week, announced that whatever investigation they did, they found wrongdoing occurred. And they say they didn't. And in Kyle Davidson's presser and in everything, he's been pretty quiet about like details or whatever. My guess is to protect whatever Hawks employee, was on the other side of this that probably wants to remain anonymous. And they very publicly fired him. And I've seen some
him being
people
Corey
on Twitter,
Perry, not the person.
Yes.
Not the
yes.
Just to clarify.
No. So, but yeah, and I've seen like people on Twitter and like hockey Twitter, like kind of like try to come after the Blackhawks for this, and like they're like, oh, Blackhawks aren't being transparent about this, blah 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 blah. Look, there are very legitimate reasons why Kyle Davidson wouldn't come out and tell you exactly what happened. And like the way I look at it is, do we really need to know what happened? Like, I'm not that like I like transparency, but do we really need to know? Oh, at this time this happened and this was said between these two people. They acknowledged something happened, though, that there was an incident, that wrongdoing occurred. They investigated it, and they fired the offender very openly and publicly. Everybody acknowledges that something went. Like, this is what you want your organization to do. This is what you want. Like, imagine, like, what you don't want your organization to do is just sweep this under the rug and hope it never sees the light of day. And then 10 years later, everyone, like exactly what happened with Kyle Beach. So I don't really, I get wanting more details, but I really don't get the criticism from other hockey fans, like, for how the Hawks handle this. I think they handled it as well as they absolutely could have. It's a shitty situation, but I think they handled it. I think they've handled it well, and that's all I got.
It's not like the Bears situation from early in the season with some of the issues they've had with their coaching staff this year, where they act like any information that gets out publicly is like it's you just can't let any information out loud. No, they've been pretty clear that like whatever happened was clearly inappropriate and just was unacceptable behavior, and they've addressed it. And I think outside of that, we really don't need to get.
I don't know what more you want. Like, right. if you want any more than that, I want you to tell me explicitly what else you want the Blackhawks to do that protects the identity of this employee or whatever, that protects their anonymity. And if you can't do that, then just shut the fuck up. I'm sorry. Like, the Blackhawks have handled this as well as they possibly could. Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, it riled me up watching people be like, "Oh, fuck the Blackhawks," blah 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 blah. They're not being transparent, whatever. It's like this. They've handled this is what you want your organization to do. All right, so give them credit.
Well, and I would imagine one of the reasons Corey Perry didn't clear waivers is because I'm sure other teams were checking in with the Blackhawks to see what the misconduct was.
Right.
And the fact that he didn't clear waivers, or that whichever one means he didn't get picked up by a team. I'm not a freaking sports agent or lawyer, but I'd imagine one of the reasons he didn't get picked up by a team is because the Blackhawks shared this information with people they needed to describe the situation. This isn't something that needs to get out publicly. I'm 100% with you on that. The Blackhawks employee or staffer has every right to be protected in that sense. And, if there's no criminal or civil charges being filed, then there's no reason for the public to know exactly what Corey Perry did. But if it's something that's going to negatively impact his position in another organization, I'm sure that got conveyed to other ownership groups and other general managers, and that is probably why he did not wind up on another team.
Yeah,
that would be my.
And honestly, I think most of the reason, like, Perry issued a statement, Kyle Davidson issued a statement, I think it's mostly just to put to bed the rumors that I will not mention, but are very dumb and highly inappropriate and will not be mentioned. But yeah, it's like they've told us what we need to know, that something bad happened, and everyone we
lost him again.
I don't know. All right, I'm done ranting about this.
The internet said you were done too, and I don't mean like
I went up.
Yeah, you froze up there for a second, but as far as the hockey front goes, it has not been looking good. As I said, lost to Minnesota today, 4-1. And as Nick mentioned, Taylor Radish had the goal on a power play assisted by Connor Bedard. And we lost 3-1. Who did we play yesterday? I'm drawing a blank on who we played yesterday, but we lost 3-1 and the goal was scored by Bedard. So we are definitely feeling the lack of that veteran presence. Taylor Hall being out for the rest of the season is definitely a blow, especially this early on, right after he gets signed to a one-year deal, because then you can't evaluate if you even want to bring him back next year. So it's going to be an uphill battle, that's for sure.
Taylor Hall had 2 years left on his deal, so he will be back.
Oh,
next year.
I am just striking out everywhere today. Man, I swear I thought they signed him to a 1-year deal.
That's not
My
new.
bad.
No, it was he just had 2 years left on his.
Thanks, Tig.
He had 2 years left on his deal in Boston when the Hawks traded for him.
Okay.
So,
man, okay, yeah, that's not at all what I thought happened this offseason.
Big brain, Jordan.
Smooth brain. All thoughts just slide right off. Anything else we want to bring up with the Blackhawks, or is that pretty much it? We just kind of stink right now, and it's going to be rough.
I gotta say, it's so hard trying to become a new fan when this is the product. Because, like Nick said, at least there's Bedard, or Jordan said, I think.
Even in these losses, they'll lose like 4. It's sort of like, you know, we're all baseball fans. The Tungsten Arm O'Doyle tweet for the Angels, where it's like, oh, Mike Trout hit like 6 home runs. Shohei Ohtani pitched a no-hitter took a no-hitter into the 8th inning with 20 strikeouts, and the Angels lost 8-4 or something like that. That's what it feels like with Bedard. It's like, oh, the Blackhawks lost 4-1, but then I'll be scrolling Twitter and I'll see like this insane shot from Connor Bedard, or he had this pass, and I think it was the game yesterday where it was just like he glanced over and it just like almost no look cross ice right on I don't know whose tape it was, but it was a perfect pass, and it was beautiful. So like he'll do that like once a game, and then the Hawks will still lose.
Yeah,
it's the Connor Bedard show, which I mean we kind of expected going into the year.
Yeah,
but also I mean,
but we also did expect that this team was going to be in the mix for the lottery again. I mean, when you have like 3 rookie defensemen starting the season, you know it's going to be that. And the good news is that a name. I'm going to float his name out there because we're going to start hearing it more often as we approach draft lottery time. Macklin Celebrini. He's projected to go number 1 overall. I know nothing about him other than he's projected to go number 1 overall. But yeah, how great would it be if the NHL rigged the lottery 2 years in a row for the Blackhawks?
Sounds like you can bring another athlete with a last name ending in Breedy to Chicago.
Be nice.
I hope you know who I'm referencing here.
Oh yeah.
Brian
White Mamba.
Scalabrini.
Yeah.
The White Mamba. Scalabrini.
Man, I am proud of myself that I picked up on that because, I mean, folks, if you haven't been able to tell, I have not been the biggest basketball fan in the world since, I really wasn't before, but especially since Derrick Rose left Chicago. So I'm proud of that one. But we'll get wrapped up on the Blackhawks here. Have 3 games this coming week: at home against the Preds, home against on Tuesday. Sorry, I should probably let you know when to watch. Tuesday, 6:30 Central, home against the Preds. Thursday, 6:30 Central, home against the Ducks. And Saturday, 6 Central, home against the Blues. I'm really hoping it's Central and not Mountain. And yeah, so maybe it's 7 and 7:30. Who knows? The days are right. Finally, we'll move on to the Cubs, where we are very much on obsessive Shohei Ohtani watch. A lot of reports coming out that the sweepstakes are down to just 4 teams: the Dodgers, the Cubs, the Blue Jays, and I'm drawing a blank on the 4th one, but the Cubs are in there, and that's the most important thing. Definitely seems like
The 4th
Chicago
team was him going back to the Angels. Sorry. Before I forgot.
No wonder I didn't get it, because that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I thought I was going to forget if I didn't say anything. So,
but yeah, definitely. I don't know if he went to the Dodgers, if I'd be more upset about him going to the Dodgers or not going to the Cubs, because it's just the Dodgers. Like, I don't know. It feels gross. I really do think Chicago would be a better fit. Just because it's been proven Chicago supports Japanese players, and I'm not here saying that other teams don't, but I mean, we've had the history with Fukudome, we've got Seiya. If you bring in Shohei, I mean, that's a really good home base for Japanese players, and you can help, draw a lot of attention to Chicago and everything. And hey, Cubs are also going very aggressive on Yamamoto. So, I mean, I'm just saying. I think Cubs would be a great fit, and I'm crossing my fingers big time. But
We're looking to break Marquee into that Japanese market.
Seriously,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Seriously, that would
Do
be.
we want to touch on how much a Shohei contract might be when it's all said?
I mean,
and
we've
done?
all kind of been saying between $500 and $600 million since
which is
the
just
season ended.
crazy to talk about here. And I think from a business standpoint, I mean, you're well worth the investment there when you talk about bringing the biggest star in baseball to your organization there. I do find it interesting, though, is that like if you're going to be paying Shohei that much, I mean, you're paying that assuming that you're getting basically two players in one, right? When you talk about Shohei as a pitcher and as a hitter, but now that he's coming off the Tommy John surgery, right? Or he's had the.
Correct.
I'm not sure if he had the surgery.
I think he had to have another
He-
surgery.
I don't know if it's Tommy John specifically, but I know it's a UCL injury.
Yeah. It's an injury that might keep him from pitching for a good portion of next season.
Oh, he's already ruled out of pitching entirely.
From pitching, yeah.
Yeah.
So I am curious to see like how that's kind of managed because again, that's the selling point is that you get an elite hitter and an elite pitcher in one player, which we just haven't seen before in the modern era of baseball, obviously. And I don't know. Do we think that's? What are your thoughts on that? If that's kind of what it ends up being.
It for me, honestly, yeah, it scares me a bit. I'm not gonna lie, just because he is 29 going into his age 30 season already. And that's something that it's like, I'm just, I don't know. It's like a weird, I don't want to say stereotype. I don't want this to sound wrong, but it's just like, like when you have like Ichiro, and we know how well Ichiro took care of his body as like, there goes my microphone stand. All right, well, that's on the floor now. And just kind of like, it's like Shohei mentions like too, like when you interview him, stuff like that, he's like, well, I really listen to my body. I know like how to take care of it. So it's like, yeah, like you are signing him to what's going to be 10 plus years, most likely with the number that starts with a 6, potentially at least a 5 easily. And yeah, do you want that out of a DH? No. You want that out of a DH that can also throw up to 200 strikeouts a year with like a 3.02 ERA. Like that's what you want, because you want to see him strike everybody out and hit gorgeous dingers. So it scares me for a bit for sure, but there's also just like, I don't know, man, there's just that X factor too. Just like you get him, it shows everybody the Cubs mean it. And then it lets you get more guys that be like, gosh, I mean, like Cubs are being a powerhouse. Like I want to go play for them. They got Craig Counsell. They're building all these pieces. They got Shohei. I mean, just like if let's put it this way, like if I don't know, if Ian Happ is like your 8-hole hitter because it's a good problem to have, then that's a good problem to have. Like because like everybody else above him is just so much good. Like that's the best problem to have, and I'll take that any day of the week. And you pay to get Shohei with the intention of winning a World Series, kind of like a lot of those big contracts. It's like, hey, we're gonna win within 3 years, and then you might become useless, but at least we won one, so whatever.
I'm a little worried, but I'm also not worried. Like I'm certainly not trying to discount your argument here, but to bring back the joke we were making a couple of weeks ago, whip the checkbook out on the table. You got the money to spend. It's not like a $600 million contract spread out over 10 years is really going to be that detrimental to the Cubs' salary. Because, I mean, at that point, you're going over the luxury tax. There's no doubt about it. So you might as well just freaking go for it. There's going to be opt-outs in that contract. Figure it out down the road. You go and you get the best player currently available, even knowing that he's not going to pitch at all next year because he is going to. God, can you imagine Shohei Ohtani at Wrigley Field in the summer? That's going to be almost.
I'm trying not to just to hold my potential excitement, but yeah, it does sound pretty good.
It's going to be.
Tag's not ready to unleash his checkbook yet.
Well, I am ready to unleash his check. Look, man, who's the one that simulated the very realistic simulation of the show? Okay, where Shohei, when after we got him, Shohei hit like 50 home runs, struck out like 300 dudes, and we won the World Series first try. All right, who did that? I did. I put in the extra 30 minutes of my day to make that a reality. But no, I am so excited. I just I don't know. We're too. What is it? snake bitten. We're too snake bitten by Chicago. It's just so tough because I don't know, man. We just like everybody
Right.
figures out a way to mess with it.
Let me put it to you this way, because I do really think that this is plausible if we sign Shohei. Are you willing to spend an AAV of $60 million a year to watch Shohei Ohtani go back and forth with Aaron Judge every year for the home run lead? Because I am here for it. I will gladly take a $60 million AAV to watch a consistent home run battle take place every year at Wrigley Field in the summertime. And if I certainly hope it doesn't get to the point where he never pitches again, in year 3 or 4 of the deal. Hopefully that happens year 7, 8, 9 of the deal, whatever. But I would, at least for next year, I would be willing to take a chance on that contract, because you are going to get a crazy amount of home runs flying out of the bleachers onto Waveland. So I'm just saying, I'm here for it.
Yeah, I also even wonder, like, what if you could just make him, like, to even, like, ease, like, the load on him from a pitching standpoint? What if you just put him in, like, the bullpen or something and just make him a bullpen pitcher for during time? I don't know.
I was watching Foul Territory, and they shout out to Foul Territory, good baseball podcast. Consistently has Ken Rosenthal on there, Todd Frazier, AJ Brzezinski, all those guys. But they were talking about it's kind of unrealistic to have Shohei as a reliever, because if you have him in a DH spot, how do you work him into the game? I forget exactly how they phrased it, but it would be very, very tough to have him as a relief. Like, do you sit him as the DH? Do you swap in a different DH? How many innings do you let him pitch for? So they were all kind of saying that having him as a reliever doesn't make a lot of sense. He really does kind of have to be a starter and a DH, but I don't know. I know he's not pitching next year. I'm willing to take the chance on it. If it bites us in the ass, but we get a ton of home runs and a World Series out of it, I'm okay with it.
I will not be mad at the Chicago Cubs for spending money after we've spent the last 3 years yelling at them for not spending money.
Also true.
So
yeah, definitely. No,
yeah,
that's for sure. That's for sure.
Well, and I don't know if you guys want
that, but
I don't know if you guys want to take a swing at this too, but I mean, again, there have been reports coming out too that the Cubs are, quote, very aggressive on Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who is I think he's got 2 of the Japanese equivalent of the Cy Young Awards, just won one last year. He's basically the biggest free agent pitcher right now. And if we're attached to and can land both of them, I will lose my freaking mind.
And that's the thing too. And I agree with the Twitter ads on this one. Everything is just so dependent on Shohei. It's so dependent because whoever doesn't get Shohei probably does get Yamamoto. I do think the Dodgers have a good shot of getting him if we got Shohei. But dude, it would be insane if we could somehow, if the Cubs are just if Ricketts is you know what, Jed, you buy whoever you want, dude. I'll pay it. That would be insane because, I would giggle like a little schoolgirl. I don't know. Just sort of it would be. It's just everything just hinges on it because also you got Bellinger, Sullivan free agency, which, that whole thing. I'm just kind of do you want Cody again? A lot of his numbers, analytics wise aren't great. And then who else? There's a 4th name on the market. Regardless, everything just kind of hinges on where Shohei goes. Oh yeah, Rhys Hoskins. Yeah, he's a decent enough bat for a first baseman. Besides that, yeah, but just it's all the hinges on Shohei. So let's see what happens. I hope that we see it sooner than later. The winter meetings do start up. That is in baseball. That's basically a really big point for a lot of free agents, but also in baseball, we also see guys not signed until spring training's almost done. So, we'll see. Wait and see.
I had been seeing a bunch of reports that Shohei is expected to sign by the end of this week. So hopefully, one way or another, we will have an answer for you, lovely listeners, by the next time we air on Sunday or Monday, whenever you guys are free. I'm good to record on Sunday. I open, so.
I should be too.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up. Anybody have any 180 type content they want to bring
Yes.
up this week?
God, yes. Okay.
Oh boy.
Oh, goodness gracious. All right, I've been waiting for this forever. Oh, one of my headphones just went out my right ear, but I can still hear my left. Anyways, dudes, this is my old man yells at the clouds moment in football. Okay. Why do you all wear mouth guards on your helmet, like the mouth guards that are attached to your helmet, and then not actually wear the mouth guards? Put it in your mouth, man. It's there to help you. I don't get it. I don't like it that players just run around with their mouth guards swinging freely in the air. All right. Makes no sense to me. Also, what is with this mouth guard trend to like stick one in the top of your helmet? It's dumb. I don't like it. I don't care that I sound 85. Stop it. Get some help. God. That's it. That's all I got.
Anybody else?
The college football playoff committee is dumb as shit.
Not as dumb as no mouth guards, Nick. Not as dumb.
Nah, they got it right.
FSU got jobbed.
They did
No,
a good
FSU.
job, but they got the 4 best teams.
No, they didn't.
What are you gonna
No,
do?
No, they didn't.
I stand with FSU.
I don't care. No.
Alabama's gonna win it all.
I stand with FSU.
Yeah, they are. They're gonna
They're gonna win
destroy
it all.
I don't
Michigan
care.
now.
I
Just
don't.
watch.
I don't care. I don't care. Okay, if we just want the 4 best teams or whatever, why isn't Georgia in there? Georgia's probably better than all those teams in there.
Well, Georgia would be in there if they, took care of business on Saturday.
Alabama shouldn't have lost to Texas. That's brutal. But
Also
you know what?
agreed. Yeah,
Alabama lost
I
one
watched
game.
that game. That was pretty funny.
Alabama lost 1 game. FSU lost 0. I don't care that FSU lost their quarterback. They should have the chance to prove it. I don't care if they snuck in as the 4 receive and get dog walked by Michigan. I don't care. They should have the chance to do it.
I mean, I saw a really good. God, man, we've been referencing Twitter a lot in this episode, but there's been a lot going on.
We live on Twitter.
Somebody on Twitter made a really good point. It's like you don't reward or punish a team for one player. For those of you that don't know, Florida State did not make it into the college football playoff because their starting quarterback broke his leg. That's basically the reasoning. Screw it. It's not basically the reasoning. That is the reasoning. They're undefeated.
Yeah.
They beat LSU earlier this year. They beat another Power 5 school. And the only reason they didn't get in, despite being undefeated, is because their starting quarterback broke his leg. And somebody said, you do not do this because of one player. You do this for the 100 other kids on this team that have been busting their asses all year to get to this point. You do it for the coaches that have ridden the wave with these kids to go undefeated and beat these better schools. These guys played out of conference games in order to bolster their standing in the FBS rankings. And now you're just going to punish them because one guy broke his leg. I mean, it's not fair in my opinion. And
It's almost.
they still took care of business.
Hang on. It's almost as if the NCAA is corrupt. Shocking. I don't. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that because it's the internet. But no, I will say it. No, I don't care. No, screw the NCAA.
No, you know what?
It's
You
not
can't
good.
say it. That's not a hot take.
Oh.
It's not a hot take. Everybody knows that. Oh, we lost Nick.
No, we lost Nick. I'm sure he had a great point.
No, I think. Okay, no, am I back?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, 2 points on the quarterback injury thing. Let's say the roles were reversed. Let's say FSU had like 1 loss to even a playoff team. I don't know how that would work in their scheduling. And Bama was undefeated, but they lost Jalen Milroe. Would anybody be arguing that, FSU should go in because Bama lost their starting quarterback? No,
Nope.
we wouldn't be arguing that. And also, FSU's quarterback, Jordan Travis, in a tweet, he said, "I wish I broke my leg earlier in the season so y'all could see this team is much more than the quarterback." And this sets terrible precedent. Like, this is going to like make teams in the hunt be like, oh, do I want to disclose this injury? Is this going to be held against me by the committee? It's so stupid.
Well, they're
It's very
expanding the playoff to 12 teams next year, so we're never going to run into the
But
Same
still,
with
not to
FSU.
mention like knowing that like the ACC just like it's like, oh yeah, well you're not safe.
But then all the seniors and all that that are
lost your top,
graduating.
like your top
Yeah.
team. We're not going to let you get in the
Oh, the
playoffs
ACC's dead.
now. Well, yeah, I know, but still, just any conference that sees it, it's just kind of like, oh, your team isn't gonna get in just because Saban is 12-1. He beat Georgia. So now your team doesn't get to get in. So it's like, why would I? Like, I don't know. Saban paid some dudes. It's fine.
Exactly.
Whatever. Who cares?
Shout out to our friend Parker, who's an Alabama alum. And
No, I hope
huge
Alabama
fan.
loses every game the rest of the time now.
Well, I'm ironically shouting out Parker. But
I also hope Green Bay loses every game. The Cardinals lose every game. The
Well,
rest
they're
of
going to
their
win
history.
tonight, unfortunately. So
I know, yeah. Hey, I mean,
actually, no, that's
yeah, makes their
go
draft
Pack,
day
go.
worse.
Get a
No,
worse
don't.
draft pick.
Oh my!
Get a worse draft pick.
You did not just say that on this podcast.
It was sarcastic. I didn't mean it. I do have. Do I have a couple minutes? Can I go on a rant?
Yeah, just
Gosh.
go for it.
Okay.
So, yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna say it. Fuck Jeff Fisher. The A's successfully moved to Las Vegas. Travesty for baseball. Really, really bad look. I know this is a couple weeks ago, but this is the first time I've had a chance to rant about it. I feel so freaking bad for the city of Oakland. It sounds like a lot of people in Las Vegas aren't even really going to be receptive to the A's. Why would you be? You just got a really shit franchise coming to your town that isn't set up for success at all. And if Jeff Fisher suddenly decides to spend money because he just wanted to move the team, well, that sets a really bad precedent for the rest of the league. If anybody wants to just not put money into their facilities and their team to leverage a move. It sucks. It's unfortunate. Sucks for the players that are on the A's. Jeff Fisher is a disgusting human being and should not be in charge of a professional sports team. That's my rant. Just want to put it out there in case any of our listeners want to do their own research, and we can all start a hate Jeff Fisher train. If I mean, I know there already is one, but the more pressure put on him, the better, because he deserves to.
Gets militaristic quick. I gotta say, we get feisty.
It's so frustrating. The guy is such a terrible excuse of a human being. And he inherited a sports franchise from his parents. And because, the city of Oakland doesn't want to give me a bunch of money to build a shiny brand new stadium like SoFi in Inglewood. Screw you, dude. You have billions of dollars. Spend one of them on a nice facility. Don't ask the taxpayers for any help. That puts a, 165th or something ding in your net worth. I hate it.
All right.
I'm Googling his net worth right now. Oh, John Fisher. I can't even get his name right because I hate him so much.
Sure it's not because are you sure it's not just because you're dumb?
We're really digging on me right now, aren't we? This has been a bad episode for me
over here.
I think we can. I think we can end the show. I think we can just end the show. I don't think we care about John or Jeff Fisher's. Yeah.
I think we need to wrap.
Screw John Fisher.
Jeff Fisher a coach?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I was like, you talking about the old Rams coach, man?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I got the mustache.
Well, yeah, screw Jeff Fisher too. Darn it. Yeah, I'm with Jordan on the train. Yeah. Woo.
Sell the team. Okay. Once again, before we get ourselves into any more trouble, man, that has been a common theme lately. We're going to end the show. I do want to say, just heads up, there's some stuff that will be announced later that has to do with me personally, that might prevent us from
leave
recording.
Him in suspense.
Yeah,
I can't.
Cancer, dude. Jeez.
No, it's not. It's nothing bad. It's nothing bad. But I do have some stuff that's going to be coming.
He's
down
going
the
on a
pipeline.
secret mission. He's not going on a secret mission.
I'm actually in the
Not a
CIA, and
Yeah.
I'm getting stationed somewhere.
He's a Fed. Jordan's a Fed.
I'm an ARC. No, but so I just want to say our posting schedule might be a little inconsistent coming up with what I've got going on with the holidays, because I will be out of town for that. So if we're not posting regularly, I do apologize in advance, but we will have content coming down the pipeline. Thank you all so much for watching this episode. Once again, I'm Jordan DuPont, joined by Andrew Freeman, Nick Nicola, and Tig Mullen. You can find Nick on Twitter at Nicola21, Tig at TMMullen007, and Andrew at AJFreeman25. You can also check out Andrew's other work for the Bear Report at 247sports.com, where he does his track in the trenches, recap on the line play for the Bears and the Picks for Polls podcast. So thank you all so much. We'll be back ranting and raving and causing trouble again next week. Have a good one.